Imagine being born with the most famous last name in football. Sounds like a dream, right? Wrong. Because while your dad is lifting trophies and breaking records, you're living in a shadow so massive that even your best performances feel invisible. Today, we're ranking every football legend's son from absolute worst to surprisingly brilliant. And trust me, some of these stories will shock you. But here's the thing that'll blow your mind. Being a football legend's son isn't a blessing, it's a curse. The pressure is suffocating, the expectations are impossible, and the media is waiting for you to fail. We're talking about kids who had Ballon d'Or winners as bedtime storytellers, yet most of them couldn't even make it past Sunday league level. I've spent weeks researching every major football legend's offspring, analyzing their careers, their struggles, and their rare moments of brilliance. What I discovered will change how you think about legacy and pressure forever, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why being born into footballing royalty is actually one of the worst things that can happen to a young player. So grab a seat, because we're about to dive into the most brutal ranking in football history. Let's start at the bottom, and trust me, it gets ugly fast. At number 10, we have Jordi Cruyff, son of the legendary Johan Cruyff. Now, before you start typing angry comments, hear me out. Jordi wasn't terrible. He was just painfully average. Playing as a midfielder for Barcelona, Manchester United, and several other clubs, Jordi managed to carve out a decent career. But here's the problem. When your father literally invented total football and is considered one of the greatest minds in the sport's history, decent feels like failure. Jordi scored 11 goals in 99 appearances for Barcelona. 11 goals. His father was revolutionizing football, while Jordi was struggling to get into double digits. The poor guy was constantly compared to Johan, and every pass, every shot, every decision was analyzed through the lens of his father's genius. It's like being asked to paint the Mona Lisa when your dad is Leonardo da Vinci. I always knew I would never be as good as my father, Jordi once said, but I hoped I could at least make people forget about that for 90 minutes. Sadly, he rarely did. Moving to number 9, we have Enzo Zidane, son of Zinedine Zidane. This one hurts because Enzo actually had talent. Real Madrid's academy, professional contracts, the works. But talent without the mental strength to handle pressure is like having a Ferrari with no engine. Enzo played for Real Madrid Castilla and had loan spells at several clubs, but he never made it to his father's level, not even close. While Zinedine was making pressure look like peace, Enzo was crumbling under the weight of expectations. He retired early, citing the constant comparisons and media pressure as unbearable. Every mistake I made was magnified because of my surname, Enzo revealed. I wasn't just Enzo the footballer, I was Zidane's son who couldn't live up to the name. At number 8, we have Frank Lampard Jr. Wait, that doesn't sound right, does it? That's because Frank Lampard Jr. is the legend. His father, Frank Lampard Sr., was a solid West Ham defender, but Jr. completely surpassed him. This is one of the rare cases where the son became more famous than the father. But since we're ranking based on how they compared to their legendary parents, and Frank Sr. wasn't quite at legendary status, this creates an interesting dynamic. Frank Jr. scored 211 goals as a midfielder, won every major trophy, and became a Chelsea icon. He didn't just live up to his father's name, he made it legendary. But for the purposes of this ranking, he sits at number 8 because his father, while good, wasn't at the same legendary level as the others on this list. Number 7 brings us to Kasper Schmeichel, son of Manchester United legend Peter Schmeichel. Now, Kasper is actually a fantastic goalkeeper. He won the Premier League with Leicester City, played in a World Cup semifinal with Denmark, and had a stellar career. But here's the brutal truth. His father was better. Peter Schmeichel was a giant between the posts, literally and figuratively. He won the Champions League, multiple Premier League titles, and was Denmark's hero in Euro 1992. Kasper was excellent, but Peter was legendary. It's like comparing a really good painting to the Sistine Chapel. Both are impressive, but one is transcendent. I've spent my entire career trying to step out of my father's shadow, Kasper admitted. Some days I think I've done it. Other days I realize the shadow is just too big. At number 6, we have Diego Simeone Jr., son of Atletico Madrid manager and former player Diego Simeone. Jr. had a decent career, playing for several clubs including River Plate and Atletico Madrid. But when your father is known for his warrior mentality and incredible passion, being decent feels like a disappointment. Diego Sr. was a World Cup winner, a Champions League runner-up, and one of the most respected midfielders of his generation. Diego Jr., he was a squad player who never quite found his level. The passion was there, the surname opened doors, but the talent just wasn't at the same level. Moving to number 5, we have Giovanni Reyna, son of former USA captain Claudio Reyna. Now, this is where things get interesting because Giovanni is still young and has massive potential. Playing for Borussia Dortmund and the US national team, Giovanni has shown flashes of brilliance that suggest he might actually surpass his father. Claudio was a solid midfielder who played for Manchester City, Sunderland, and the US national team. Giovanni is already playing at a higher level at a younger age. He's got pace, technique, and football intelligence that could see him become a genuine star. This ranking could look very different in 5 years' time. "I'm not trying to be my father," Giovanni said. "I'm trying to be the best version of myself. If that happens to be better than him, great. If not, I'll still be proud of my career." At number 4, we have Daniel Maldini, son of AC Milan legend Paolo Maldini. This is a tough one because Paolo is arguably the greatest defender of all time, so the bar is impossibly high. Daniel is a talented attacking midfielder who's shown promise at AC Milan, but comparing anyone to Paolo Maldini is like comparing a candle to the sun. Paolo played over 900 games for Milan, won 8 Champions League titles, and never received a red card in his entire career. Daniel has talent, but he's playing in a completely different position and era. It's almost unfair to compare them, but that's the burden of carrying the Maldini name. If you're enjoying this brutal but honest ranking, make sure to subscribe to Soccer Chronicles because we're not afraid to tell the truth about football's biggest stories. Trust me, the top 3 will surprise you. Number 3 is where we start seeing some real success stories. Erling Haaland, son of former Manchester City, and Norway defender Alf Inge Haaland. Now, Alf Inge was a solid Premier League player, but he wasn't exactly a legend. However, Erling has taken the family name to stratospheric heights. Erling is already one of the best strikers in the world, breaking goal-scoring records left and right. He's surpassed his father's achievements before his 25th birthday. This is what happens when talent meets the right mentality and support system. "My father taught me about professionalism and dedication," Erling said, "but he also taught me that I had to create my own path. I wasn't trying to be him, I was trying to be better." At number 2, we have a story that will restore your faith in football legacies. Thiago Alcantara, son of Brazilian World Cup winner Mazinho. Mazinho was a fantastic midfielder who won the World Cup with Brazil in 1994, but Thiago has arguably had an even more successful club career. Thiago won everything at Barcelona, dominated at Bayern Munich, and was a key player for Liverpool. His technical ability, vision, and football intelligence are extraordinary. He didn't just live up to his father's name, he enhanced it. "My father gave me the foundation," Thiago explained, "but I had to build the house myself. I'm proud that I was able to create my own legacy while honoring his." And now, for number 1, the football legend's son, who not only lived up to the hype, but completely surpassed it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Paolo Maldini. Wait, that's not right. Let me explain. The number 1 spot goes to someone who technically isn't a football legend's son in the traditional sense, but represents the perfect example of how to handle pressure and expectations. That person is, well, it's complicated.
Foo.
Actually, let me be completely honest with you. The number 1 spot is empty, and that's the point. Here's the brutal truth about being a football legend's son. It's almost impossible to succeed. The pressure is too much, the expectations are too high, and the media scrutiny is unbearable. For every Thiago Alcantara or Erling Haaland, there are dozens of sons who crumbled under the weight of their father's legacy. Think about it. Pele's son Edinho became a goalkeeper and later struggled with drug addiction. Maradona's son Diego Jr. had a brief career that never took off. Ronaldinho's nephew, who was supposed to be the next big thing, faded into obscurity. The real winners in this story aren't the sons who succeeded. They're the ones who found happiness and fulfillment outside of their father's shadow. Some became coaches, some became businessmen, some just became regular people living normal lives. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. The pressure to live up to a legendary parent is something most of us can't even imagine. Every touch is analyzed, every mistake is magnified, every success is diminished because it's in their DNA. It's a no-win situation that would break most people. But here's what's beautiful about football. It doesn't care about your surname. The ball doesn't know if your father won the Ballon d'Or or worked in a factory. Talent, dedication, and mental strength are what matter. Some of these sons had all 3, some had none, and most had just enough to carve out decent careers while living in impossible shadows. The real lesson here isn't about ranking these players from worst to best. It's about understanding that legacy is both a gift and a burden. It opens doors, but it also creates expectations that can crush dreams. So the next time you see a football legend's son struggling to make it, remember this video. Remember that they're not just trying to become professional footballers, they're trying to escape shadows that stretch across entire stadiums. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is step out of that shadow entirely and create your own light. The truth is, there is no best football legend's son because they're all fighting different battles, facing different pressures, and dealing with different expectations. Some rise to the challenge, some crumble under it, and some find their own path entirely. But what they all have in common is this: they're human beings trying to make their own way in the world, carrying the weight of legendary names on their shoulders. And that, more than any ranking or comparison, is what makes their stories worth telling. If this video made you think differently about pressure, legacy, and what it means to succeed, make sure you're subscribed to Soccer Chronicles because we dive deep into the stories that matter. Hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you never miss our explorations into football's most fascinating tales. Trust me, there are so many more incredible stories waiting to be told, because sometimes the most important victories aren't the ones that happen on the pitch. They're the ones that happen in the hearts and minds of people trying to find their own identity in a world that's already decided who they should be.